Okay, so you're an athlete in the game of life and you're running to win. You're running with purpose. You want to implement a plan that's going to make winning a habit in your life. And that system is assess, game plan, execute, win. The world might tell you because of your past, because of your decisions, because of your upbringing, because of the decisions you've made, because of what's already happened, that you can't win. And I want you to know you can. I'm here to encourage you. This is Coach Jason with Win Your Days. You can absolutely win because your past is not a post to be chained to. It is just a launching pad for your future. You can, regardless of your past, you can create the future you want. You can create the future you deserve. Winning is possible for you. You just have to have a system. The great majority of times in a man's life, although the world will say that a man is the problem, right? Certain groups out there will point the finger and say, you're the problem. I'm here to tell you, you're not the problem. If you feel like you're losing in life, struggling in some specific areas of your life, multiple areas of your life, chances are you're not the problem. The problem is you don't have a system in place that just takes you step by step to get a desired outcome that you want. And my Win Your Day system to help men win in all areas of their life is assess, game plan, execute, win. If a man, remember we talked about in a previous video, the difference between an aimless athlete and a deliberate athlete. The aimless athlete on the playing field of life has no plan. So he wanders. He hopes, and just by chance, maybe he'll get a win. But when he doesn't, he casts blame, makes excuses, allows fears and doubts to come in. And without a plan, you play the game small. You stay stuck and stagnant, and you feel powerless. That's not a good feeling. To feel powerless and defeated in life doesn't have to be like that. Think about this. An athlete in the game of life, if he plays the game small, doesn't have a plan for winning, he's losing, he's a procrastinator, makes excuses and points the finger. When he gets to the end of his life, what do you think he will feel? Regret of what could have been, what should have been, what would have been. If he would have had a system, if he would have put himself out there, if he would have taken risks in life, if he would have stopped caring so much what other people think, the people in the arena, what do they think? And start living courageously, boldly, as he was designed and created to live. Oh, but the deliberate athlete, the one who's in the arena, sweating, getting dirty, being okay with failure, embracing the failures and learning from them and getting better all the time, and has a system and process in place for winning. When he gets to the end of his life, he's filled with joy, contentment, satisfaction, knowing he played the game well. His family feels that. His marriage feels that. He has a whole legacy that he's left behind. His bank account shows that. It's amazing. That's where I want to be. That's where I want you to be too. And so the Win Your Day system is simply assess, game plan, execute, and win. Assess, game plan, execute, win. Here's what I mean by assessing. A lot of times in life, a man he'll get busy and he'll want to be productive, want to be efficient. He'll want to win. So he sets out working, but the work that he's doing is inefficient. It's not moving the needle where it needs to go. And so he gets frustrated and starts working harder on what's already not working. Have you ever seen a housefly and it gets stuck at a window and it just keeps hitting the window, hitting the window, hitting the window, trying to get free, trying to get loose, trying to get uncaged? And so he's beating himself literally to death against this glass, when 10 feet away is an open door. All as he needs to do is turn and fly almost effortlessly out the door. But he won't, because he's so focused on this way, crashing into the glass. A lot of times that's a man's life. And he won't see that unless he steps back to assess his life and figure out, what path am I on? Where am I going? Is what I'm doing working in my marriage? If your marriage isn't where you want it to be, and you step back and you assess and you go, man, it feels like my wife and I have drifted. Why is that? And what can I do right now? What are the top 3 things I can do right now to game plan? This is the game plan to get back on track. And then you execute that game plan, and all of a sudden, the marriage starts coming close because you're intentional. You have a system for winning. You assessed, then you game planned, you executed the game plan, and you come back together. And if a man did that in all areas of his life on a regular basis, when you do it on a regular basis, it doesn't take long. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, says this: if a pilot was flying a plane from Los Angeles to New York City, and right before takeoff, he shifted the nose of the plane just 3.5 degrees. That's it, 3.5 degrees. And then took off. Instead of landing in New York City, he would land over 200 miles away in Washington, D.C. So that's what a man's life is like when he doesn't assess on a regular basis. He just gets 3.5 degrees off and keeps going. He's like the fly in the window. He just keeps crashing into it, won't make the adjustments, won't turn and fly effortlessly 10 feet in the other direction and be free. And I remember I was in a hotel somewhere on the west coast of Florida listening to a speaker. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, or I don't remember much about the study, but here's what I do remember. That this speaker, whoever he was, and hats off to him for doing this, he took a year off of life, and he went around and interviewed centenarians. I didn't even know what a centenarian was. I had to look it up. Well, he told us, obviously. I learned a centenarian were people who lived to 100 years or more in life. He went around for an entire year and asked centenarians one question. One question. The question was this: now that you're 100+ years old, if you had to live life over again, what would you do different? That's it. One question. He accumulated all of these answers, dozens and hundreds of answers. And out of all the answers, 3 of them were way far and above mentioned more than any others. I don't remember the order, but here are the top 3. Number 1, I would risk more. If I had to live my life over again, now that I'm in my hundreds, I would absolutely risk more. I wouldn't be so afraid of what other people thought. I would just go for it. Like, who cares? Isn't that great advice? Somebody once said, experience is a great teacher, but it doesn't have to be your experience. I don't have to go through it to learn it. I can learn it from centenarians who've done it before. And if they're saying, here are 3 things I would do differently if I can do life over again, would you want to know what those 3 things were? Right? Yes. And the first one is, I would risk more. Take chances. Go for it. Deliberate athletes in the game of life, they risk more. They go for it. Number 2, he said, I would give more. That was the answer given. All these centenarians were saying, I would give more. I wouldn't hold on to stuff, my time, the stuff I accumulated, my money. I would be more generous with the entirety of my life. Give more. I think that's great advice. Be generous. And number 3, which could have been number 1, I think all of these are equal, were this: I would reflect more. Assess. Assess. A man's got to assess his life to see if he's 3.5 degrees off or 1 degree off. And if you regularly assess, you can get back on track. And that's what they were saying. I would reflect more. Instead of trying to move so fast and be so aggressive without the thought that requires to live life with excellence. when we work so hard without the reflection, even though we're working hard, the output is average. It's average or less than, because we don't even know if we're going in the right direction. Is the work I'm doing even making a difference? So we got to assess. That's number one. All right. Once you assess, then you game plan. What are the top 3 things that I can do right now to change the situation? And I'll share a story with you. And this story I got out of What Would the Rockefellers Do? It's a financial book. I told you in a previous video that I felt like my financial IQ was so low, and that's why I lost the 6 figures plus. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know the right things to do with it. So, okay, well, what can I do to improve my financial IQ? Well, I started asking questions of wealthy people and interviewing them, just talking to them casually, taking notes. I started reading books. One of them was What Would the Rockefellers Do? And in there, in the opening chapter or in the introduction of the book, it describes 2 types of people, literal people that actually lived, phenomenal guys. One had a financial game plan and the other one didn't. And so their finances, their financial legacy with their families ended up way different. And I want to share it with you to illustrate the point of how important it is not just to assess, but to game plan. Have a game plan for the important areas of your life. The first guy was Cornelius Vanderbilt. Now, Cornelius Vanderbilt, in short, made his fortune in the shipping industry. Started in New York Harbor with ships, then switched to the railroads where he made, billions. And at the time of Cornelius Vanderbilt's death, 1877, he had amassed more than it was $100 million. That might not seem a lot right now in today's money, right? Like today, $100 million, it's common. I mean, we hear that a lot. But back in 1877, it was more money than the United States Treasury had in it. He had more money than the United States government. It was more money than Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Warren Buffett had or have combined. Because the 100 million back in 1877 equates today to over $200 billion. That's how much he amassed. Now, when he died in 1877, he left his money to his son, William Henry Vanderbilt. And his son doubled the money. In 9 years, his son doubles the money, but then the son died. And that was the last time the Vanderbilt fortune earned any money. The heirs got the money and they couldn't stop spending it. They built mansions all over Manhattan. And within 4 generations, 48 years. It was within 48 years of Cornelius Vanderbilt's death, he had a direct descendant that died broke and penniless. There was no game plan for the finances. Now compare that with John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller made his fortune in the oil business. And in the late 1800s, he was supplying 90% of the oil. It's incredible. When he died in 1937, he had a very different game plan for the family fortune. His game plan, and you can read the details in the book, but in short, his game plan was to keep all the money together in one place. So he established a family trust. And underneath the family trust, he established subtrust for each of the kids and grandkids. And he had a system in place, the game plan in place for the money. And as a result of that, 150 today, there's more than 150 direct descendants of John D. who are living off of the interest alone from that fortune. They are still counted among the top 400 wealthiest families. It's incredible. It's the difference of a game plan. If a man would assess and then have a game plan, come up with a game plan, whether it's for his marriage, for his health, for his finances, for his relationships in life, for his family, for raising kids. Simply assess what's the game plan. Let me execute on the game plan, which is going to come up next in the next video. I'll finish up the Win Your Day system with execute and then win. Okay, so stay tuned. Go to the next video and you can hear the follow-up on the last part of the Win Your Day system. This is Coach Jason with Win Your Days. Click subscribe if you like this video. More of them are coming. I do free live trainings, Win Your Days trainings, multiple times a week. If you want to sign up for those, they're 1 hour long, completely free. You get to interact with me one-on-one, and we talk about this system because it is incredibly important for a man to win in the most significant stadium, which he will ever play in, is the stadium of your own life. Every day is game day. There's no time for being average when you were created for greatness. Let's go win. And you can sign up for those free trainings, winyourdays.com. See you next video.